Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial we are going to be making a balaclava with some granny squares using one of my favorite stitches of the granny stitch, and we are using these two colors. And for this tutorial you are going to need a 6.0mm hook, scissors, and a yarn needle. So for the granny stitch, it's very simple. It's the easiest stitch. It's one that I usually mostly use a lot for most of my work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this strand, leave like a long enough tail for it to weave in the ends later, wrap it under these two fingers, flip it, and then do like a crossover like that. Next, we're going to take our hook and we're going to put it under this loop here, and then hook the loop right next to it here, pull under, twist it, and then take the longer strand and pull through. And there you have your first chain. Now we are going to chain two more, so you're gonna yarn over, pull through, yarn over again, and pull through. And there you have your 3 chains. Now this does count as a double crochet for the first cluster. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 2 more clusters in this magic ring that we made right here. So we're gonna yarn over, and you're gonna insert your hook, and you're gonna pull a loop up, yarn over again. Sorry, just bear with me with this magic circle. Sometimes they'd like to wrap around. Yarn over. You're going to pull through 2 loops, yarn over again, and you're going to pull through 2 loops. And there you have your second double crochet for the first cluster. Now just do this one more time for the full cluster. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you're going to do at least 3 more of these clusters in the magic ring to create a square. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to chain 2, and do the same kind of cluster except for these chains right here. We're just going to do normal double crochets, 3 of them in the next cluster. Pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now if you're a beginner crocheter, that is perfectly fine. If you need more guidance, I will make some other tutorials on how to do simple stitches. But for this tutorial, we are going to do the regular granny stitch for the balaclava. So do 2 more clusters, or 2 more double crochets, my bad. There's 1. And 2. And you have your second cluster. So do this 2 more times. So chain 1, chain 2. So these chain 2 spaces, we are going to be doing 2 clusters in each one when we come to that point. So just do 2 more clusters of double crochets. And so each cluster is 3 double crochets altogether. Tight a little bit. So yeah, if your hole is a little too big sometimes, just pull that string a little bit so that way you can close the hole just a tiny bit, so that way you have not too much leverage. Do one more cluster of double crochets. Yarn over, inside the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, underneath into the magic ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then chain 2, and then just pull that string from the magic ring to tighten up the hole, to close it. And then in that first double crochet, or the second double crochet, in this stitch right here, you're going to insert your hook, pull a loop through, and then do a slip stitch to close the square. And there you have it, your first round of the granny stitch for our balaclava. Now we're going to do a second round in the same color, so chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we are going to do 2 double crochets in this space right here. So you're going to yarn over, go into this space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Do another one, yarn over into the chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there you have it, your first cluster of your second round. Now we're not going to chain 2 or chain 1 to make a space. We're just going to go into this next chain space here and do 2 clusters of double crochet. So yarn over, go into this chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Do this stitch 2 more times for the first cluster. Two, pull through 2. Now chain 2. Do the second cluster. And there you have it, our first corner of our second round. Now you're going to do these 2 clusters like that for the next few corners to finish our second round. And so after this round, I am going to show you how to change colors because we are using 2 different colors for this pattern. And typically the granny stitch is the very easiest stitch for most people who do crochet. It's become one of my favorite stitches because it whips up so very quickly for any kind of project I'm doing. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and finish this and I'll be right back to show you how to change colors. Okay, so I am back and I have finished the second round. So at the end of your second round, always do that chain 2 so that way you can be able to close the round in the right way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this stitch right here. And we're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, and just do a simple slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 1 to close the round off. So that way we have it all secure. and just pull the rest of that strand all the way through. And there we have it, our lovely square. So yeah, if you want to just try and tighten the hole a little bit more so it looks more closed. But yeah, so this is our 2 rounds of the granny stitch for the beginning of our square to make our balaclava. Oops, sorry. So now I'm going to show you how to attach the second color for our square. So we're going to take this yarn right here, and so what I like to do is to leave a long enough strand to weave in ends later. We're going to take our hook, we're going to put it in the chain space, and we are going to put this string or the yarn and just leave like a long enough tail just like that to weave in ends, and just put the shorter one over the long one and just pull the loop through and then do a chain 1. See? And that is how you attach your second color to your square. So now we're going to chain 2, and that creates our first double crochet for the next round. So now we're just going to do 2 more double crochets into this chain space to create our first cluster of our new round. And there you have it. So now we're just going to do clusters of double crochet, 3 double crochets in each space and 2 clusters in the chain spaces. So in this space we're going to do 3 double crochets. And again, if you don't know how to do it, I can probably explain it again. So we're going to yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Do that one more time. Pull through 2, pull through 2. And that is how you make a cluster of double crochets. I'm going to do 2 clusters in this chain space. Chain 2, and do another cluster in the same chain space. And there we have it. So you're going to just keep on doing double crochet clusters into each space. Like for these ones right here, you'll just be doing regular 3 double crochets. But in each chain space, you're going to be doing 2 clusters to make the corners. So go ahead and finish up your 2 rows. But when you come to the very end right here, once you finish your last 3 double crochets in this same chain space here, you're going to chain 2 and going right into this stitch right here, this one right here, you're just going to be inserting your hook and pulling up a loop and doing a simple slip stitch to connect them. And then you just do the same round that we did here for the second round of this color. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you guys back up. And we will be making 8 of these squares. So you're gonna be making 8 of these lovely squares. So I suggest, like, for these squares, like, mixing up the colors. But yeah, just go ahead and make 8 of them, and they'll come right back. Okay, so I am back with all of my 8 squares for the balaclava. As you can see, I did alternate the colors. So this is the one that I showed you guys how to do. And so I took the darker blue and made it to the center for here for the other set of the squares. So yeah, like I said, you can get creative with these squares and alternate the colors to make it look really nice. But anywho, we are gonna get to the sewing part of how to put your squares together. Now, I do recommend setting up the squares of how you would like the pattern to be, like of how you want them all set up to make it look really cool and exciting and, you know, interesting. So, but I am going to show you how I put these together. Don't mind the ends. I usually weave in my ends at the very last minute. It's up to you if you want to weave in your ends beforehand, but that's just me. So anyways, I'm going to show you how I am going to sew these together. So let's see, let's try setting these up. So let's see. So just like mix up the colors from what I'm doing here. Sorry if the angle and the close-up is too much. My camera is only a certain amount of range. So like I said, you can just like set them up in certain ways and like to make the whole entire thing look really good, to look really cool. Depending what colors you're using, you can use any type of like colors, what your favorite colors. But yeah. So I usually place them facing down for because you're going to be seeing the ends when you face them down like this, to see how it's going to look when you actually set up everything for which squares you're going to start with. So I typically start with mostly the bottom sets. So it's like I'll basically just start sewing from here up and then just working my way around each square to fully sew it all together. Okay, so this is basically just how I set mine up. Do not mind the yarn that is in the background. I am currently still working on organizing a bunch of free yarn that I got a while ago. But this is exactly how I usually set my pieces up to make this balaclava, so I can figure out how to do the sewing technique easy and which squares I'm going to start with. So what I usually start with is basically these 6 panels, these 6 pieces right here. Do not mind that one you're going to basically just leave out for a bit. But I basically just start right with this section here, and then I work my ways up from there. So let's get started with the sewing. So to do the sewing, you can basically just use like whatever yarn you like, but I typically use white yarn because it's going to be easier for you to see where you're weaving your needle through for each stitch, so that way you can sew it nice and clean. We're actually going to be doing the mattress stitching to make it look nice and seamless, and I'm going to show you that in just a sec. I'm just going to cut off some yarn to use. And there we go. And so we're going to take our needle and so we are going to do the mattress stitching, which is very actually a clean way of sewing things together. So right where these two stitches are, like right here, these two stitches, which are your chain spaces, you're gonna go in to the back loop and underneath like that. And you're basically just gonna pull through, but not fully all the way. You wanna make sure you leave like a good long strand to like weave in at the end. And to secure this into your chains, we're basically just gonna go right back in and pull all the way through. And make sure you don't get that little strand caught while you're doing that. And it's basically just gonna make like a little loop knot that stays secure while you're sewing the rest of your stitches together. So to do the rest of the mattress stitching, we're basically just gonna do the same thing we did for these two stitches, but instead of going in the back loop, we're gonna go into the front loops of the next square, just like that. And you're gonna pull through all the way. And that's how you're gonna start connecting them. Now, when you're doing this for the mattress stitching, you're basically going into the same back loops chain of the first square you did, and then going in like that. So I'm going to show you one more time. You're going to go into the same stitch right here, and just going under like that, pulling all the way through. And you're going to do the same thing, but in the front loops of the other square, like this. So like that right there. Whoops, almost went through the wrong way. And just go on like that. And to put these squares together like this, I find it very satisfying, because when you pull it all the way through, it's gonna make your work look so much neater and so much more like nicer, because once you're done, there's not gonna be anything there. You are not gonna see one sewing seam in your work. It'll basically look like there's nothing there, but it's literally sewn together, but in a certain way that makes it look neat and seamless, and it'll be really nice. So just keep doing it like that. Just go into the same stitch where the string goes, and like that. And just pull through. It's basically like a back and forth little sequence, but I promise you it makes the work look so much nice, so much better, I should say. So see how the mattress stitching is? Okay, so when you pull it from here, it's gonna make it look like there's nothing there. And then just give it a little tug and see how it's so seamless. You can't even see, you can barely even see anything, like feeling like it hasn't even been sewn in. It looks so nice and clean. So yeah, so go ahead and sew up your squares the way I just showed you. I'll show you one more time. So from here, you're going to be going into this stitch right here and going up into the other stitch from the back loop on the square that's facing you. And then the other square that's that's like folded like this, go into this stitch right here where the string, you see the string coming out, and just go right into that other stitch of the front loop and just pull all the way through. And that's how you do your mattress stitching. So yeah, just go ahead and do that. And before you fully do all the squares, just make sure to remember that when you get to the end of each square, that you're gonna do that like that little loop knot secure technique that I showed you in the beginning. So wait, each square stays nice and secure and you don't lose any stitches or any squares or have any like unwanted openings in your work when you're done. So just go ahead and sew up the rest of your squares and I will meet you back. Okay, so we are back and we have sewn all of our squares together for our balaclava. So you can either decide to weave in your ends now, or you can be like me and wait for them after you do the brimming part, which is going to be around the headpiece here and towards the bottom here. Now you can do whatever color you'd like for the brimming, but for me I'm going to choose black because one, it's going to look very nice with this color here, with these two colors. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we will have our balaclava. And the only thing you'll have to do is weave in the ends. And you will be all set. So let's take our black yarn, my bad. And you're going to make a slip knot over. Take that underneath. Take your hook. And just do like that. So yeah, when you're doing, so make sure you leave like a long enough end to weave in as well when you're doing the brimming. Alright, so what I like to do is I like to go into this chain space here. What I like to do is I like to basically do a single crochet decrease. So we're going to, so let me show you again. So I'm going to go into this hole here and I'm going to pull up a loop right where our yarn was. And so ignore this strands here, these loose strands that you're going to be weaving in soon, and go straight into this chain space right here. Or if you want, you can do a single crochet to 3 together and go into this chain space right here. And just go over that like that. Pull up a loop. Go into this chain space. Pull up a loop. And just basically yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. Like that. And that creates a little tight like single crochet 3 decrease to make the corners look a lot nicer and neater for when you're just doing regular single crochets along the stitches right here. So go ahead and do your single crochet stitches like usual, like more like normal. So when you're crocheting along this line, you're just doing regular single crochets in these V stitches. And when you get to each corner space, you're going to do like a single crochet decrease from what I showed you from when we just started. So continue single crocheting along the square here. So if you don't know how to single crochet, just go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And we are just going to keep on going until we reach our next 2 chain spaces and do a single crochet decrease. All right, so we've reached our next chain spaces. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook into the space, pull up a loop, insert our hook into the next chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all the loops in your hook. And that's how you do a decrease, and to make the corners look a lot neater and make your balaclava look nicer when you're finished. Now there's going to be like a little double crochet stitch right there, because after you do your single crochet decrease in some of the corners, sometimes it will hide that stitch that's hiding behind it. So you're going to go into that stitch right there, pull up a loop, and do a single crochet. And so yeah, just keep single crocheting on this V stitches, and then each chain space in the corners you're going to do a single crochet decrease. So that way those corners get a nice even look and your balaclava comes out nice. Yeah, so go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back up. Okay, so I have just finished doing the border of the head hole here. So when you come to the very end, you are going to slip stitch into the first single crochet decrease that you started with, and then just chaining one to secure it. And you are going to cut this end off, leaving a long tail to weave that in very securely. And so we are going to do the bottoms. So for like the bottom ribbing part, you're just basically just going to be doing the regular single crochet all the way around, and then slip stitching to that first single crochet that you did when you started. Okay, so I am back, and we have all of our borders, our ribbings, done, all nice and clean. Now we are going to turn this inside out so we can do the ends, and we will be done with our balaclava and it'll be ready to wear. Okay, so what I like to do the easiest ones first. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to basically be going towards where you started on the ribbing parts, and you're just going to weave them in to the row where you did the ribbing. So we're going to take our needle. I usually use these are my big ones, but I'm using them for now today. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle, and you are just going to, I know it may seem hard to see because it's black coloring, but you should be able to see it. So right where those stitches are, you're just going to weave your yarn needle through them or underneath the stitching, just underneath these V's here. To safely secure your ends, to make it look all nice and neat. And once you're done with all your ends, you'll be able to wear this. And see, all nice and neat. You can cut that off. So for the ends on the squares here, we're gonna do a different technique of weaving them in. I personally like to weave it in a couple of stitches in, and then I like to take the yarn and split it into two strands each, and then weave it in a little more and like tie knots on it, so that way it stays more secure, and that way it stays more longer lasting for use. But it's entirely up to what you want to do, but that's what I do to make it last longer for personal use, especially for when it comes to the cold season, it's the perfect time for these ones for the cold season. But yeah, you can weave in your ends however you like, but I'm going to show you exactly how I do that part. And I typically do that part for all of the ends on the square, but for the edging part, I basically just weave it underneath those V stitches. But yeah, I'm gonna show you how I do these square ones, so that way you guys can see how I actually do it. So I just go underneath the stitching there, just for like a couple of stitches. And then I just take the strand here, and I just go in between the first two small strands or thin strands. That was 3 strands. So yeah, you do want to take some time splitting these up, so that way you can actually weave them in. So yeah, this is what I do, is I split it in half, and then I take the first one and I just weave under a couple of stitches here. And then I just tie 2 or 3 knots just to make it more secure. And then I just weave the rest of this back into the magic circle on this square here of how we did the granny stitches. And I just weave it in. You can see I just weave them in a little bit more just for extra secure. And then you can just basically take your needle off and then just cut like a small strand, just about that much. And there you have it. Your middle end is weaved in and all secure, and it has longer lasting. But yeah, for these little strands here, you can just weave them in on the bottom right here. And for the ones that are from towards the inside the squares, you're basically just gonna do what you did right here and just weave them in a couple inches, split the yarn, and take one of the strands and then just weave into another stitch, and then tie up a couple of knots and then weave the rest of it in to make sure it stays all secure. So yeah, you can go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back up. Okay, so we have all of our ends weaved in. So now we're going to turn this right side in. And we have got our balaclava. So once you're all done, you can try this on right after you're done. So I'm gonna actually put this on and see how it looks. Let's try on this balaclava. And there we have it. All nice and ready for the rest of the cozy season. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys for what I'm gonna make next. Bye!